I'm Finn Graves, and today I want to talk to you about art and chronic pain. If you stay tuned till the end of the video, it's about 5 minutes long, I'll give you 3 ways that I deal with chronic pain as an artist that don't involve drugs or doctors. Yeah, okay, let's get started. So, I remember being 11 years old the first time that I went to a chiropractor. And I went to a chiropractor because I was having a lot of chronic back pain. And, I mean, that's not what I called it at that stage. I was just in pain. You know, I was 11 and running around was pretty shitty. And so I did a lot of holding still and a lot of drawing and a lot of not stretching my body out. And I think that originally my chronic pain stemmed from, I had heart surgery when I was 18 months old. And when I was 18 months old, what they do when you're a baby, because you're only like, it's probably like this big, and what they do is they cut down the middle of you and they crack your rib cage open and they take out your heart and they stitch into it and they put your heart back in your chest all the while you're packed on ice, and then they push your rib cage back together and just wait for the bones to knit. And because this happened when I was so young, like it was before any of my growth patterns were started or any of, well yes, some of my growth patterns were started, but it was also in the 80s, and so they didn't have a lot of thought around physical therapy, and so I didn't have any physical therapy growing up, and so I just grew wrong. Like literally the center of myself grew, and there's a bunch of scar tissue here, and I don't have a huge scar compared to what a lot of people have as heart surgery survivors. But it did create a lot of pain growing up. And so what I did with the pain is I drew a lot. But then at 11, I went to the chiropractor and I started getting regular massages, and these were excruciating. Every massage I remember getting until I was easily like 26 years old when I met my partner Bethany and she started massaging me was a practice in agony. I didn't understand why people called massages relaxing. I didn't understand why they would ever do them. And it wasn't until Bethany, like somebody like really willing to go slow. And I mean, actually my best friend Cedar did some work on me as well. And so I've been dealing with chronic pain since I can remember. I was the only 6-year-old that had migraines, and like I remember being 14 years old and going to high school and not realizing that everybody around me wasn't in pain all of the time, that it didn't hurt them to sit in their desks, and it didn't hurt them to stretch, to hit the volleyball, or things like that, right? I was 14 years old, and this guy in my high school, his name was Brandon, and he was like, man, I'm so sore, because he'd lifted a bunch of wood the day before, and I was like, where are you sore? And he told me where he was sore. He was sore in his back, he was sore in his arms, he was sore in his legs, and I was just like, don't you hurt there all the time? And I remember him being like, no, of course not. Like most of the time I feel great. And like I went home after that at 14 and just like really thought about it, because I was kind of lucky. Like it wasn't prescribed to me to like take a bunch of ibuprofen for my pain. And so over the years I've built up an extreme amount of pain tolerance. But one of the reasons I'm talking about this today is because I was like, okay, on my list of things to do today is to do an artist blog. And I was realizing like how much pain I'm in right now. And one of the ways that I'm handling it now is by a lot of wiggling and moving, which isn't previously what I've done. And it's just, today is a harder day as far as pain goes. And I've just taken some ibuprofen, and so I should be back to my perky self because I'm going to be doing a speed painting video in a few minutes. But I don't know how that could help you or what that could do for you, but I do know that it's important to represent who we are and how we actually live in the world. And I know that a lot of people with chronic pain are addicted to pain pills and have to be because that's how they function. But for me, that's like not a choice I took or a place I decided to go to. And so I want to tell you what I decided to do instead. So since we're reaching the end of the video, like I said, I have 3 ways that I handle pain that I wanted to share with you. The first way that I handle pain is I create art. When I'm in a lot of pain, emotional, physical, mental pain, it doesn't really matter what kind. In our brain, the neurons actually like translate all of those pains about the same. They're all sensation. And so that's why emotional pain can be such a strong duress. And I've trained my brain to realize that pain is a signal. And so when I get the signal for pain, I oftentimes grab my sketchbook and I sit down and I just immerse myself into this world that is created by me. This world where I am not in pain, or if I am, it's easily translated into line and color and imagery. And so that's the first way that I handle pain. The second way that I handle pain is by nutrition. Turmeric is one of those things that like reduces inflammation in your joints, and I handle different pain like digestive pain with ginger and headaches with peppermint oil. And so I use a lot of different natural remedies, and I'm always looking for like anti-inflammatory things to eat, and I check into stuff like that. And now I'm not a nutritionist freak with things, and I'm not like that healthy as far as things go. I definitely eat brownies and cookies, and sugar causes inflammation. So if you want to avoid inflammation, definitely avoid sugar. But one of the things that I find is that my body has less pain if I nurture it. If I take care of my body, which is something I've had to relearn in my 30s actually, because previous to that, by immersing myself just solely into art, what I ended up doing was separating myself from my body, because here, this body feels pain. This is where I feel pain. And yeah, it's translated in my brain, but when I take my brain out of it and put it up here in this like higher artistic realm of creation and imagination, then I can separate from the body that hurts. And the third thing that I've been doing for the last couple of years is walking. I walk, I move, I wiggle, I stretch. And that's something that has only happened when I hit 30. It's like the pain threshold increased. I've been taking care of kids for 15 years, and so I've carried babies on my hips for over 10 of those years, you know, and even in the other 5 of those years, there's a lot of physical lifting, you know, and so that has increased the level of pain and stress on my body. But I find that when I'm doing things like gentle yoga, and like regular yoga has me like screaming and tears streaking down my face, and so it's a whole different experience to do yoga and to like go to a yoga class for me, because everyone else is able to do all these things and I can't. My body won't move that way, it won't twist, it won't turn, it's not flexible, it hurts. And so, but for me, one of the things that I can do is I can do yoga in the park with the littles. And they play all around me and they have a good time, and they're like crawling underneath and on top of me, and that's, you know, that's really fun for them and it's fun for me. But one of the regular things that I do even before yoga is just like stretching myself out. I just move, you know, and I like take my body to where it can move and find what it's doing and how it wants to do things. And I let it do those things and I slow it down. Now, I'm not a human that actually like slows down very effectively. I tend to want to rush faster, 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 even though I have a decent amount of patience. But for myself, I always need to push harder and faster and be more epic and more intense, which is something that I actually want to change about myself, but it is a personality trait currently. And I found that with movement and with exercise and with stretching, that I couldn't push myself harder, faster, longer. By doing that, I made it so I couldn't do it at all. And so I just walk to work. I take 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening, and I just walk back and forth to work. And not only is it a meditation, but it clears my brain as well as it stretches me out. So yeah, that's 3 things that I do to deal with my own chronic pain. That's not to say that you shouldn't take pills. Pills just make me sick. The only thing that I can take is ibuprofen. And I mean, I just took some today. And I'm going to stretch myself out, and I'm going to do some art and things like that. So yeah, thanks for watching my artist blog on art and chronic pain. And I look forward to seeing you next week when we upload. Best.